Alan Quinlan is with us. Quinny, good morning to you. How are you?
Morning, guys. How are you?
Roman Ntamack had one of the all-time great rugby moments at the weekend. Unfortunately, it came against Ron O'Gara's La Rochelle, but sometimes you just have to hand it to the genius when the genius does genius things.
Yeah, it was sensational, to be honest. I think probably on the face of it, La Rochelle were the better side in the game. And he came up with just a piece of magic there. Ntamack, every time any of the Irish provinces play Toulouse, you're always talking about how do you stop Dupont and Ntamack and their influence in the game. La Rochelle had done that brilliantly for probably 77 minutes of the game on Saturday night, and it's just a little bit of switch off in defence. I think Toulouse didn't seem to be going anywhere, and how often do we see it in rugby when teams are trying to attack out the field, somebody knocks the ball on or drops it. Just keep your discipline, keep the continuity of your defensive line. But I think Dylan Lades was the one who was ultimately missed a tackle, or he slid off Ntamack. But I think Satini, the centre, he shoots up out of the line, and that whole defensive line got fractured, and you just can't do that against someone like Roman Ntamack. And it was a sensational score. He had a poor game, made lots of mistakes throughout the game, poor passes, his kicking wasn't great, and it just shows the quality of the players. It's never over against Toulouse in particular, because it's in their DNA, Ger. There's a lesson for everyone in sport. You know, sometimes when you think it's over and your back is against the wall and you feel it as a fan or a reporter there, they just never stop. They have confidence and belief that they can do something special. You know, they've won 22 French top 14 titles, 5 European Cups. They're the most successful club side, and one of the most, if not the most successful club side in professional rugby since its inception. So incredible win in the end. Heartbreak for Ronan and La Rochelle, because they did so, their power and the way they played throughout the game. Of course you can pick holes and mistakes they made, but Ntamack's try was just unbelievable.
For anybody who hasn't seen it yet, it's ruck deep inside their own half, kind of, and their own 10-metre line, and he just gets the ball, has a shimmy and a feint, and suddenly he's scoring under the post 70 metres down with a minute and a half, 2 minutes on the clock left, and La Rochelle, as you say, in the lead up to that point. Very hard to take for La Rochelle, even with the fact that they're back-to-back European champions. This is the type of thing that kind of scars you a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's obviously, this is the one that they really would have wanted to domestically. You know, both these sides have been the most dominant sides in the league throughout the season. I think there was 10 or 12 points separating the rest. The Toulouse and La Rochelle were 10 or 12 points clear of everybody else. Very dominant sides. And, you know, psychologically, you know, look, we're speaking about Leinster losing, you know, the final, how will that affect them, and last year against La Rochelle as well. It's difficult. You have to kind of regroup. New players come in, some guys retire, all that kind of stuff. There's a few changes. So it's hard to take, but look, that's sport. It's pretty cruel. I think what will frustrate La Rochelle is, you know, they nearly did everything right in the game. I think when they're 20-13 up in that second half, that's a critical point. Ramos kicks penalties and puts Toulouse ahead. You know, so La Rochelle just needed another score. There was a couple of key moments there. Brice Toulon running back with the ball at one stage. Bottia at the breakdown gets Ntamack right on the halfway line. Ntamack, not sure if it's 100%. The referee said he touched a knee off the ground. La Rochelle turned the ball over. The penalty was given against La Rochelle, and then somebody spoke to the referee and they marched him 10 yards. Ramos kicks that penalty. And I suppose the try that they you know, after 23 minutes, Cabreras, the Argentinian centre playing for Toulouse, it's a loose pass. Dante loses the ball in contact and it bobbles a little bit. Toulouse snaffle it and they score in the corner. So they kind of, the two tries they gave were it wasn't that Toulouse were hammering away at their line and created something wonderful like they usually do, and we know they can. So they did a lot of stuff in the game. But Ugo Mola, the French coach, spoke about karma, and he kind of admitted it afterwards that, karma was on their side. A couple of breaks, staying in touch, and that moment of magic at the end. Anton Hostay missed a couple of kicks early on as well. So, yeah, very small margins. They did so much right, and just couldn't get over the line. And that's sport. But Toulouse have that belief and that mentality that they're never finished, and you just can't switch off of them. And that moment of magic, piece of magic from Ntamack, who, if you look back at the game, he had a poor game. There's a lot of talk in France, and even some of the match reports afterwards, talking about his inconsistency and how he's played this season. But he still has that ability to do something magical like that. There's even people talking that Jaminet should be out half for France. He offers more control, but when you have someone who can run like that, and again, karma is probably. I just looked back at the match and I thought sometimes it's not meant to be, and it was a little bit like that for Leinster against La Rochelle in that semi-final. Certain things go wrong. You miss a touch, somebody knocks on the ball. There's one or two moments like that where you're going, God, it's just not happening for us. And that it didn't happen for La Rochelle the other night. And I suppose with Toulouse, if La Rochelle won, Leinster would have been, top seeds in Tier 1 of the new format of the Champions Cup. So it's not a big issue, I don't think, but they would have avoided La Rochelle Saracens in the top seeds. But I don't think it'll affect Leinster too much. But it was an incredible final. For anyone that hasn't seen it, the intensity of it, the razzmatazz, the crowd, the atmosphere, it was just unbelievable for middle towards the end of June. See that quality of rugby in France, it's exceptional.
Quinny, good stuff. We'll leave it there. Thanks a million. Cheers.